Tama Kieves, our special guest today. I wanted to share a little tiny bit about her big, incredible life. Tama, she's an honors graduate of Harvard Law School. She left her law practice to write and help others to create the life they are born for. She is the best-selling author of 5 books, including her newest groundbreaking book, Learning to Trust Yourself. It's right here, available in the bookstore and in the lobby. Learning to Trust Yourself, Breaking Through the Blocks That Hold You Back. Featured in USA Today, Oprah Media, TEDx, and more. Tama is a sought-after speaker and visionary, career and success coach who has helped thousands worldwide to discover and thrive in the life and the work of their dreams. She's also taught A Course in Miracles for many years and is known for her smart, spitfire spirituality, a girl after me own heart, her electric humor, and the big possibilities she brings out in others. For inspired support, for free goodies, you can check out her website, tamakieves.com. And also, please follow her if you're not already on social media. Please help me welcome Tama Kieves.
Have an issue with trusting ourselves, right? Or trusting an inner voice, right? Trusting that we know what it's saying, right? Like, good, thank you. Good, so we're in good company here because that's what we're gonna talk about is learning to trust yourself. And what I wanna do today with us is I wanna co-create this sacred space together, that we're gonna do this together, right? And so what I want you to know, what I want you to take away from today is that when you change the relationship with yourself, you change your relationship with the universe, right? Yes. When you love yourself, you can hear a loving spirit, but you can't hear that loving spirit when you're not loving you. So together, what I want to do is I want to create this safe space together. You know, they say that when 2 or more are gathered, something amazing happens. Well, a lot of us here are gathered. And what we're going to do is we're going to create this safe space. We're going to practice not judging. We're going to practice, if you will, because when I'm hearing judgment, I can't hear guidance. When I'm hearing self-criticism, I can't hear inspiration, right? And so if I let go of judgment for even a minute, that's when spirit can come through. So we're just going to play. We're going to practice this together for this talk, because I need you. I need us together doing this, right? Is you're going to practice not judging you. And you're going to practice not judging anybody here. And you're certainly going to practice not judging me. That is your number one. That is your number one thing here, if you forget anything else, right? Because what I want is when that judgment's gone, that guidance is here, and I want to see you're going to hear what you need to hear. You're going to feel what you need to feel. So we're going to be talking about learning to trust yourself, the most important skill there is. And I'm going to ask you, what do you think stops us from hearing that inner voice? You know, you have this code of genius in you. You have this spirit in you. We all do, but we don't listen to it always. And here's what I know. If you are not listening to your own inner voice, you're listening to someone else. Ugh. Who is more important to you than guidance? Who is more important? Maybe it's the voice of the culture. Maybe it's the voice of education. Maybe it's a family member. But if you're not listening to your dreams, your soul, your instincts, who are you listening to? So I was listening to my mother. So... yeah. Some of you know my story. I'm going to share a little bit of it because it's really important in learning to trust yourself. So when I was younger, I knew that I wanted to write. I fell in love with writing. I read Catcher in the Rye, and it was like, oh my God, I love creative writing. And the creative writing teacher was gorgeous. So like this was a sign, right? So like, oh my God, all things are adding up now, right? They're all adding up for good. So I went home to share this fabulous news with my family that I'd found my calling. I'd found my dream. I found what I'm supposed to do, right? But I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, to an Orthodox Jewish family who would not be very happy with me being here, by the way, but but I am, and so if you said you found your calling, you wanted to write, nobody said Mazel Tov. Right? You know, maybe an oy vey, right? But it's like, I basically, when I was saying I found my calling, I wanted to write, it could have been the same thing as saying, I found my calling, I want to sell my body to the night. I found my calling, I want to deal heroin, right? My mother heard it the same way. Because in my mother's book, drug addicts and prostitutes and creative people. They're all gonna, let's face it, you're all gonna live under the same bridge, right? So my mother said something like, you're going to write? You're going to write? You're going to starve, you're going to write. And that was the Go for Your Dreams talk that I got. And then my mother said, being something reasonable, said something like, what? You can't get a job? You'll write on the Sundays, right? The reasonable plan, the practical plan. Most of us got this. Most of us got this idea that we needed to be practical, we needed to be safe, we needed to be reasonable, and we shut down this original voice of instinct and love inside us. We decided it wasn't practical to listen to your God, to listen to your soul, to listen to your dreams. I'm here to tell you that's not safe. We're living in times now where the safest thing you're ever going to do is listening to your love, is listening, right? That's the safest thing on this planet, right? But I didn't know that back then, and I went off to law school. And I got accepted to Harvard Law School, and I graduated with honors from Harvard Law School, and my mother was very proud. Very proud. She bragged in every synagogue for all she was worth, right? Oh, my little girl, I don't want to tell you. Let me tell you. Should I tell you? Right? And you may have had a situation like this where there's something in your life, you're doing what other people say you should do. You're following expectations. Your life looks right, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel okay. Because when we're not trusting us, when we're not listening to that divine, original, brilliant plan that is in you and only in you, it doesn't feel good. And so I practiced law. I was on partnership track in a major law firm, and I was dying. I was just feeling empty and scared and thinking, oh, God, what's wrong with me? I have what you're supposed to have, and I'm not okay. And then, thank God, a friend of mine said something amazing. He said, think about it. If you've been this successful doing something you don't love, what could you do with what you love? Bam! Isn't that good? And that opened my mind. I thought, you get one life. I want to know where this goes. I want to know what happens if I listen to the love inside me more than the fear. So I left everything to learn to trust that inner voice. And I left without a plan and without much money, and I left to decide, I want to know where this goes. And what I will tell you now, these many years later, is I did publish my books. I've got 5 of them out now, and many of them are bestsellers, and it's incredible. And I meet thousands of awesome human beings, and at this point I've had the privilege of coaching and teaching thousands of other individuals to unlock their genius. So when you follow what you're supposed to do, it helps everybody. And what I'm going to talk about today in terms of learning to trust yourself is I'm going to teach you 3 things. One of them is follow your breadcrumbs. Follow your breadcrumbs. The second one is going to be see yourself differently. And the third one is going to be undo any belief that is in the way of your perfect life. right? So we're going to thank you. So I never got that in synagogue. See, that's what, and I love it here, baby. So that's awesome. So I want to talk to you about following breadcrumbs. Because a lot of times, most of us in our lives, we're feeling like, but I want the plan. But I want the plan. I want to know what I'm supposed to do with my life. I want to guarantee. I want to see what I'm doing. We are here to follow the breadcrumbs. Our spirit speaks to us in the moment. And in this moment, there is something you know. In this moment, there's something you may be called to do. And in the next moment, there's something you're called to do. And in the next moment, there's never the huge plan, the 5-year plan, the Venn diagram, the notarized guarantee, right? That I always want that, but that's not how spirit works. I teach my clients all the time, you can't plan an inspired life. You can't plan an inspired life. You don't know how to plan it because it's transformational. It's inspired. It's beyond anything we can imagine. But what we can do is listen moment by moment and follow those breadcrumbs. So I'm gonna share my best story of doing that. Some of you may have heard me tell this story because I tell it a lot because it's my best story of doing this, and it's just my best example of it. So after I'd left law and I was all kinds of transition and blah, 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 and I finally started writing what was going to become my first book, This Time I Dance, Creating the Work You Love. And I started writing that book. It took me 12 years to write that book. Took me 12 years. I know some of you are thinking, okay, I liked her until she said that. Like, oh God, I don't have that kind of time. Maybe I won't take her workshop. Who has that kind of time, right? But I always tell people, it took me 11 years to heal. 11 years to trust myself, 11 years to believe that I was worth something, 11 years to believe I had this talent, 11 years to believe that this universe was safe and on my side, right? And 1 year to write a book. So I share that with you because if you feel like you're not as far ahead as you want to be, or things have taken so long, or you want to get ahead, please keep in mind, those of us who are in the spiritual life, we are doing something so profoundly different. This is not linear. You are changing the consciousness that you have. You are changing the consciousness for yourself and for humanity. You are healing. We are the ones. We are the ones. Right? That's amazing. So it's not linear time because we're doing so much layers and transformational stuff that has nothing to do with linear. Right? So again, I didn't know any of that back then. After I finally finished writing this book, I thought, how do I get it published, right? And I knew about commercial publishing and self-publishing, but I asked my inner guidance, what am I supposed to do? How do you do this? And I heard this voice, and it just said, just put it in the river. Just put it in the river. Isn't that pretty? And what the heck does that mean? If you're asking for actual advice and actual help here, and you get just put it in a river, right? I live in Denver. There are no rivers. So I know it's not Moses, she's saying. I know, yeah. Exactly. I knew intuitively that it probably meant put it into the stream of life, and if it's supposed to go somewhere, it will, right? And so I knew intuitively that meant self-publishing. But I resisted that because I thought, I don't know anything about marketing or distribution. Now you have to put your own money into it. Have you ever noticed that? Like for me anyways, I ask for guidance from Spirit, and I'm like hoping for the lucrative plan. I want the lucrative answer. I always get the dumb answer that says, no, you have to invest first. I hate that answer, I always want to go, is there a second opinion? But anyways, I'd followed this voice for 12 years, and I thought, I'm going to see where it goes. I'm going to trust this. I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to do it. And the second that you decide that you're going to follow this inner genius in you, the second you decide, I'm giving my life to Spirit, I'm going to trust this, I'm going to go for it, the second you decide that and you're high, you are going to meet the most judgmental person. second, right afterwards, that instantaneously, you're high, you know it, that judgmental person's coming for you, baby. I don't know why. I sat down, I went to an ex-boyfriend's house for Passover dinner, and I sat down next to this woman, and she was my mother on steroids. Only she's drinking bad wine all night, and she starts grilling me. And she starts going, so you're going to publish a book? And you know nothing about marketing? And you know nothing about distribution? And you're putting your own money into this? Oh, you're very ambitious. Which is code, right, for you're a nut. You know, you're a nut. Step away from my kids. I'd never related to the Passover ceremony before. I never really got it. It's all about let my people go in the Exodus and whatever. And I got it that night like I have never gotten it in my life. It was a spiritual experience, baby. I was like, let my people go. Let my people go, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, what do you tell somebody like this? Do you tell her, oh, I have a plan. I have a plan. I'm going to put it in a river. That's my plan. Or do you tell her, oh, don't worry. I'm hearing an inner voice. It's very, very nice. You know how like in rooms like this, we pride ourselves on this. Right? We pride ourselves that we can hear an inner voice and we're following, right? And then you talk to somebody normal, you know, not so kosher, not so good, right? So I went home and I felt like a crazy person, right? I felt like an idiot because I'm trusting this voice. And that's the deal. That's what learning to trust yourself is going to be about. You're going to be inspired and you're going to know it, and then you're going to doubt it. And you're going to be inspired and you're going to know it, and then you're going to doubt it. Which one will you choose in your lifetime? Because the voice you choose in your lifetime is your lifetime, determines your entire life. Thank God, literally, that I did do that. I self-published that book. I finally did it. I self-published that book. All kinds of stuff happened. But literally 4 months after I self-published my first book, I got an email out of the blue that literally said, your fairy godmother has arrived. Your fairy godmother has arrived. True story. I'm not making this up. Now, if you get an email like that, you're going to think it's spam, right? You're going to think it's going to be, I'm going to open it up. It's some marketing scheme or something, right? Or it's going to be Russian girls are waiting for you. Or just, I'm in Nairobi. I want to give you money. Just give me your credit card information and social security number, right? But I opened up that email. And it was from Vice President of Marketing and Publicity for Random House. And it was a woman who apparently was having a meltdown of her own and in career transition and was searching on Amazon and somehow found my self-published book. And she wrote to me and said, this is the best book I have ever read on finding your calling, on doing your dreams. I want to get this to a major New York house, which to me was like saying, I want to help you meet God now, right? So she got it to the publisher I'd always dreamed of. It was Tarcher, it was part of Penguin and Random House. She got it to the president of the company. I would have settled for the janitor, get it in the door, She got it, and they bought the book. They bought my book exactly the way that it was. Exactly. They kept the exact same title. They kept the exact writing. They edited maybe 10 sentences out of the whole book. I had purple ink because I liked purple ink, so they kept some of the purple ink. As an unknown writer, I would never have started at that level. I would never have reached that. Had I followed the conventional path, what you're supposed to do, what every expert tells you to do, and all the advice, I would have never started off where I started off. By the way, they bought every single other book as well afterwards. Yes. Still going. Yes, right? And so I would never have started that way. That's what I mean when I say you can't plan an inspired life. You can't plan this. You don't know how it's going to happen. And yet, there is a plan. There is a design. There is a genius in your life every single moment if we follow it. I couldn't have planned, I'm going to have a meltdown for 12 years. Some other woman's going to have a meltdown at the end of 12 years. We're going to hook up, and that's my business plan. No bank is going to go, sounds excellent to us. We'll sign off on that, Miss Caves, right? So I want you to know there is that inspired life in each of us, and we are here to live it. We are here to follow those breadcrumbs, right? Thank you. So the second thing I mentioned was seeing yourself differently. Seeing yourself differently. And what that means for me is most of us are identifying with our smaller selves, what we think we can do, what we can't do, right? What if this is a divine assignment? What if we are co-partnering with something else and we are not alone, right? And so when I first started writing Learning to Trust Yourself, I kept hearing that inner voice, because I kept thinking, what am I supposed to write about? What am I supposed to do? And I kept hearing this voice, and it said, I need you to be the beloved. I need you to be the beloved. I need you to be beloved, to know you're loved, to know this universe is loving. I need you to teach other people that they're the beloved, right? And so that sounds lovely, but it was a little intimidating. And so what that meant was taking this path more seriously. So I'm going to read you something from Learning to Trust Yourself about that, just briefly. I'm still learning to read this out loud, by the way. Okay, so I had just gotten that advice from my inner voice of, I need you to be the beloved. And my response was, say what now? Say what now? I knew I was being asked to take my casual interest in faith and self-actualization and go deeper, go truer, and go all the way. I knew I had to start walking forward without self-doubt, to trust in the radical love of an energy I couldn't fathom, but I could not deny. I knew it meant I needed to trust myself and my life and allow it to unfold in a way that showed me I was guided and that I could trust. Second-guessing myself wasn't helping me. It was time to stop telling myself I was ineffectual. I had the edge that gave me every advantage. I wasn't limited to the perception of my reptilian brain. I possessed this secret river within me, a current of deep knowing brilliance, and energy sourced in limitlessness. I command powerful faculties. Ernest Holmes says, the life of the spirit is my life. All of its strength is my strength. Its power is my power. Part of me railed. How is believing in a loving universe realistic? There's genocide, racism, blue algae in the lakes of my childhood, corrupt politicians, and global warming. And on a personal level, I had someone drop out of a class, which goes to show the universe hates me. And yet, even as my inner tantrum spewed cynicism and a few truly unnecessary comments about a certain muffin top situation developing, I felt peaceful. Like when you know you've lost steam for an argument, really, once you touch the truth, it's non-negotiable. I knew what I knew. I knew there was an unbearable love in this world, and I wanted to serve it. I didn't need to know the name of this mystery because I knew the certainty. I also knew that when I felt love, my doubts disappeared. Be the beloved. I knew what this commitment asked. I would listen to my instincts more than to my defenses. Yes, there was part of me that doubted, but there was a part of me that did not. There was a part of me that knew I was here to thrive. Thank you. Thank you. So that's what I mean when I say see yourself differently. There's a part of you that doubts. There's a part of you that does not. Does not, and just knows what it knows, right? So that's what I'm going to ask you to do. The third thing that I want to talk about is undoing any belief that is in the way of your perfect life. Because here's the deal. We're not limited by our circumstances. We're not limited by our circumstances. We're not limited by the conditions. What we're limited by is the meaning that we give to those circumstances. The meaning that we give, the interpretation, the story we tell about a circumstance. That's what we're reacting to, right? And do you know that when you have a belief, any belief, your mind literally goes out and finds the evidence of that belief? That's what it does. So if you're having a rotten story about yourself, your mind is going out to look for any evidence that might reflect that back, and it is literally blocking anything else. So I started looking at that for myself, and I started thinking, how can I say I believe in a loving universe if I really still have these secret bad beliefs about myself or about my life? If I'm not really trusting my life, how can I say I trust the universe? And so I started looking at a belief I had, and I had this inner belief, and it still comes up sometimes. I have this inner belief that says, I never get what I want. Ever have that one? I never get what I want. Wah, wah. I never get what I want, right? And, so anytime something happens, right, I had a new client I really, really liked, and then they cancel. It's like, oh, see, I never get what I want. A store discontinues my favorite product. It's like, oh, see, I never get what I want. That belief just always comes up. But it blocks out everything else. I started realizing it's ridiculous to think I never get what I want. I got a purple pen I love. I got a book published, right? I got to speak here, right? There's so many things. But I literally, when that belief is there, I never get what I want, you literally are blocking that. So I started looking at where did that come from? And I realized, I remember when I was a little girl, I had this experience where I was shopping with my mother in a department store, and we saw these red shoes. And I fell in love with these red shoes. It was like, oh my God, you ever have something like you see that you want? It's like, whoa, the universe just opens, the heavens are singing. It's like, I wanted those red shoes with my little girl heart like you wouldn't believe, right? But I was shopping with my mother, who's a very practical woman. And so I expected my mother was going to say, the red shoes, what do you need the red shoes? These are perfectly good green elf shoes. They're on sale. You'll love them, right? So that's what I was expecting. But on that day, my mother said yes. And I got the red shoes. And it was amazing, and I was so excited. I was so like, oh my God, I got the red shoes. And I was so excited, and we bought them. They were in the shopping bag. And then my mother lost the shopping bag. Yeah, and I didn't get the red shoes. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That's what I thought. And so my poor little girl heart, was just broken, right? And I think I formed the belief then that said, I never get what I want. And it's a little girl belief, I never do, right? And it was taking one disappointment and making it into a global statement. I'll never get what I want. And I think also it was because I was protecting myself. Why desire things? Why want things? Don't open up to that disappointment. Tell yourself you'll never get it, right? What I didn't realize until later is that will hurt you more. That will hurt you far more, to shut your heart to your life, to shut your heart to your desires, to shut down to the original power of this universe that is giving and giving and giving opportunities constantly, a new world constantly, right? But I didn't know that, and that's where that belief came from, and it was amazing to have that revelation. You want to know the kicker of this story? Amazing. Is I talked to my mother about this years later, and she's talking to me, and she's going, what are you even talking about? You got the red shoes. And I'm like, no, Ma, I know we bought the red shoes, but then we lost them. And she's like, yeah, we lost them. Then we went back to the department store, and we got them. I had no memory whatsoever. I had no memory whatsoever of getting those red shoes. And what's amazing to me is I remember my belief more than I remember the truth. I remembered my emotional belief more than I remembered the truth. So do you. That's going on for all of us, that our beliefs are stopping us from the truth. So A Course in Miracles teaches that we are here to undo the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. We're here to undo the blocks to the awareness of love's presence. Love is always present here. There's a miracle always present here, but we sometimes are blocked with a belief. So that's why we want to undo those beliefs. So in closing, what I want to tell you, what I really want to tell all of us here, is that your soul is absolutely amazing. This infinite power in you is absolutely amazing. This grace in you is absolutely freaking amazing. But your beliefs, they're not so hot. Your beliefs are not so hot. But don't worry, because your entire life is here to help you change that. Right? And what I want you to know is that, we're living in a world right now that could use some love. We're living in a world that really needs some love. We are the answers. We are that love. Right? When we open up to these spiritual powers, when you open up to loving yourself more, you will open up to a loving spirit. You will have talents, genius, plans, ideas, things to accomplish like you wouldn't believe. A Course in Miracles also teaches that we can't see the invisible power, but we can see what it can do through us. So if you're feeling just a tiny bit little guilty right about now because maybe your self-judgment is holding back the freaking power of the universe, I hope so, because that's my secret plan. Because I've tried inspiration, now I'm doing good old-fashioned Jewish guilt. I will do anything to help you realize that you're amazing, you're beloved, and when you trust yourself, everything is possible. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.